Brenda said, I'm with the Rutherford County Master Gardeners. I've been a Master Gardener for approximately 1 year. Currently, I'm Secretary of the Master Gardeners. I've lived in Tennessee for 3 years. I found I love the climate here. It's so ideal for gardening, for birds and butterflies. I obviously love to garden, and in my garden I focus on any plants that attract birds, hummingbirds, or butterflies.
No hummingbird never lied.
I know. This is actually a picture of just a small portion of my garden. This is Goldstem rudbeckia. In the research that I did for this presentation, this didn't come up as a popular host plant or a nectar plant, but I used this book by Judy Lowe called 50 Flowers for Tennessee, and it does reference this as a source for butterflies.
So you like this yellow flower?
Yeah, what I do see a lot on this is the goldfinches, so I may cross over into birds too because I love the birds. In the research, I found some interesting facts about butterflies. You see them all the time. You just kind of take for granted that they're always going to be there. They go from egg to butterfly stage in a matter of 4 to 5 weeks. And again, being in the southern climate that we have, this allows them, with the warmer weather, they have a faster growth rate going from caterpillar or larva to the butterfly. In this area, we see more generations of a butterfly species in a season. The lifespan, once it turns into a butterfly, is only 1 to 2 weeks. And during that time, it searches for food and finds a mate and then lays eggs. And then dies.
After 2 weeks?
Yeah, 1 to 2 weeks. Yeah, here's one that I found, a tiger swallowtail. Just found him just like that on my patio.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, no, this is a tiger swallowtail, the male. Oh. And yeah, my brother is into painting, and he wants to paint that. So. Okay, and the essentials to complete their life cycle, they do need the host plant and nectar plants. And not always are those the same plants. The host plants being the one that the female seeks out to lay her eggs on, and where the caterpillar or the eggs will hatch into the caterpillar or larva and then proceed to eat the host plant as its food source. Nectar plant is where, once it turns into an adult butterfly, that it gets its food. And again, the essentials are that the nectar host plants have to be plentiful and healthy. Otherwise, it could factor the growth rate or size of the butterfly. They may not, be as big. May still live, but not be as healthy. And interestingly, that butterflies are nearsighted. So planting a host or nectar plant as an individual plant would be hard for them to spot. So it's better to at least have them planted in groups, such as maybe 3 or 5. Those plants need to receive 5 to 6 hours of sun a day, and I would recommend using absolutely no pesticides, including the systemic kind, where you put it into the ground and the plant feeds it up through their leaves and flowers. Again, environment, we have a stable, rather warm, dry climate here during the summer, I'd say, and that's a positive factor for them to complete the cycle. And also a mud puddle. I'll get into mud puddles later. Okay, and this is the life cycle of the butterfly. Starts out as an egg, turns into the larva or the caterpillar, then goes into the pupa and I know I've seen this word before, and I don't have a dictionary at home, believe it or not, and I'm going to guess it's a chrysalis? Chrysalis, thank you. And then it emerges as an adult butterfly. In laying the eggs, the female butterfly can lay a single egg or a group of eggs, or even eggs stacked, depending on the species. She lays hundreds of eggs, which could take several days to lay, and each an egg can hatch in a few days, depending on the weather and the time of year, whether the temperature is warm. Okay, this is an egg of a monarch butterfly, magnified. I don't know how many times, but obviously magnified. And the female locates the host plant using her sight and smell senses. She lays the eggs on leaf, stem, flower, or seed pod. She secures the egg to the surface with a special glue-like substance that will secure the egg and resist being knocked off by rainfall. Caterpillar or larva, at this stage, they spend an average of 2 weeks as a caterpillar. During this time, they devour leaves of the host plant. They breathe through small holes on the side of their body. And unfortunately, these holes are on the lower sides of their bodies, which leaves them prone to drowning if they would fall off into a puddle because of where these holes are located. They develop with 6 legs that they carry over into the butterfly stage and have prolegs that they use to climb up stems of the plants or climb around the stems and the leaves of the host plant. During this time, they could molt their skin up to 5 times, and this is a critical stage of their life, and they never should be disturbed. Caterpillar defense mechanisms, color, which basically relates to camouflage, protecting them from predators. Some species come in greens and browns at the caterpillar stage, which they blend in with the environment, and some of them are so we have colors that they resemble bird droppings. The monarch butterfly absorbs toxins from its host plant, the milkweed, and birds, lizards, mammals become very sick if they ingest the monarch caterpillar. Fortunately, their predators are spiders and wasps. They're immune to this toxin. Other mechanisms, some species curl up and drop to the ground when they feel threatened, and when they feel safe, they continue to crawl back up the host plant. Some species do headbutting with their predators, and some species have false eye spots, such as in the picture here. That's a spice bush swallowtail and the adult butterfly. At the caterpillar stage, you can see the false eyes on top of the caterpillar. Almost looks like a fish. Some species feed in groups, and as a defense mechanism, they'll twitch at the same time to scare the predator. And still more caterpillar defense mechanisms. The swallowtail caterpillar strikes with a red and orange forked gland. This gland is under the skin behind its head. When it's threatened, it shoots the gland, touching the predator. The movement of the gland and a foul odor that's released usually wards off the predator. It's a picture of, that's the monarch emerging, and you can see that the color has changed to clear, and that happens during the last stage as it emerges, that the pupa turns clear. Okay, and the complete metamorphosis, I needed a refresher on this. I remember it from junior high and high school, which means starting out as one form and changing to a completely different creature, which is exactly what the butterfly does. And in my research, I found out the ladybug does that too. There are special hormones that are released that allows the butterfly to break free from the pupa. It has 1 hour to extend its wings or it will die. As it is when it does emerge, it is wet, and the wings are folded. And during this process, they also must fuse 2 halves of the tongue to form a tube used for feeding and extracting nectar from plants. I thought that was very interesting. And the anatomy of the butterfly, they have chemical receptors on their feet, tongue, and antenna. They use this for smell and taste. The eyes are used to detect light and movement, and butterflies are nearsighted, which again refer back to planting the host and nectar plants, you need to plant them in kind of groups due to them being nearsighted. More on anatomy. The length of the tongue varies by species. The longer the tongue, the longer tongue species feed from tubular flowers, and the shorter tongue species feed from flatter face flowers. Butterflies are cold-blooded. They're most inactive below 50 degrees. You'll find that they're less active on cloudy days, and they must warm their flight muscles in the morning before taking off to feed and lay eggs or whatever for the day. It's natural for them when they're feeding to orient their wings toward the sun. Okay, in the same species, they may be different in size. I think I kind of touched on that before due to weather and the food supply. The males and females of the same species are different in size, usually because the female has to carry the eggs. And in some species, the males and females are different colors. And they have large eyes. They see many colors. They see an ultraviolet range. And flowers to them resemble brightly lit runways. And they detect movement better than humans. That's why I've found in this project going out and trying to photograph them in my yard during the day, they're very quick to take off. Best time to photograph butterflies is in the morning when they're still at a slower stage because they're warming up their flight muscles. Caterpillar to pupa usually occurs during the warm summer months over a course of about 2 weeks. During this time, the caterpillar stops eating. She finds a safe place to hang, such as a wood pile, underside of a large leaf, or a tree branch. And I'm sure that it's not limited to those three. It spins a patch of silk to anchor and sheds its skin and reveals the pupa. If it enters this phase in autumn, it may hibernate till spring. And the caterpillar liquefies inside the chrysalis and reorganizes to the butterfly. And in reading my research, it was quoted that after decades of research, this process is still not fully understood. Mating and courtship. Each species produces pheromones to stimulate mating behavior. The males will patrol areas where host plants grow, and they'll actually wait for females to emerge from the chrysalis and mate even before they've totally hatched, and then they release pheromones that mark that this female has already been mated. This kind of saves them from doing their courtship dance, makes it a lot easier. Males will mate with more than one female, and the males will fight over females. Males will gather in groups in muddy areas. I know this isn't a very good slide, but I did take this in my yard. I thought it was very interesting. These are the eastern-tailed blue butterflies. They're very small, maybe about that size, and you see them flying all in groups. And I know I do throughout my yard. And what they're doing here is the males gather at in muddy areas, which I have a little irrigation problem here, and there is some sand and dirt there. They sift dissolved salts and minerals needed for reproduction, and this behavior is called puddling. Okay, and getting into the host plants. In a butterfly gardening, your primary focus should be on the host plants. That's something I've kind of I failed to do in my gardening. Each species requires specific plants, and a caterpillar will starve to death before eating a non-host plant, even though that plant may be a host plant to another species. Common host flowers for butterflies are asters, coneflowers, false nettle, hollyhocks, milkweeds, passion vines, Queen Anne's lace, snapdragon, cleome, violets, white clover. This was also new to me. I didn't know how important clover was, and I have it in my beds and in my yard, and I won't pull so much of it out next spring. And passion vines, I know that where I live, it's kind of new development. There are some vacant lots, and I can find those passion vines, the wild passion vines. And next spring, I'll be sure to go out there and look for seed pods and start growing them in my own garden. Common host trees and shrubs include the elm trees, pawpaw tree, sweet bay magnolia, the tulip poplar and willows, the spice bush, and prickly ash. A couple of those I'm not real familiar with. Again, I didn't realize how much time this entailed putting this together. Otherwise, I would have liked to have shared some photos on the spice bush and the prickly ash, but maybe y'all are familiar with it. I planted a willow. I'd heard that willows were attracted butterflies, and I planted a corkscrew willow at the back of my my cottage garden, so that was a good move. And I didn't know.
I don't see it.
It's coming. It's more of a nectar flower. Okay. The common host vines and herbs. Again, I repeated the passion vine here. Hop vines and pipe vine. Herbs are rue, fennel, and dill, and parsley I think should be added to that too. Common nectar flower, which is where they get their food, is the taw verbena, which I'm not really familiar with that. I think I've seen it at Martin's. Yeah. I think I'll buy some next year.
All different flowers, pretty.
Coneflowers, I can attest to the lantana and the butterfly bush. I mean, they're just all over my lantana and butterfly bushes. And butterfly bushes, as soon as I'm done with this presentation, I'm going home to deadhead mine and fertilize them, because they do need to be deadheaded to keep them going. Milkweeds, Mexican sunflower, tall garden flax, sunflower, zinnia, cosmos, sweet William. Pinta is very popular. You do start seeing that in the stores, probably like, I think I saw May. I hurry up and buy Pinta because that's a good heat-tolerant plant, and butterflies do like it, and petunia. And some of these you can grow from seeds, or probably all of them. But I know I'm going into the stores. I've never seen Pinta seeds, but all the others, I believe, well, lantana I haven't seen either. But you can throw your seeds out in the fall in this climate. And here we're back to I'm starting in a series of common butterflies that I find in my garden. Again, this is the eastern-tailed blue. I have a better picture on the next slide. Came out a little, but you can appreciate how small it is. It's laying eggs on a clover flower. And its host plants are yellow sweet clover, clover alfalfa. Nectar plants are sweet clover, wild strawberry, which feeding the birds, I have found I've got a lot of wild strawberry. It can become invasive. Flowers, any flowers with short tubes. Its life cycle in this southern area is February to November. Okay, this is a clouded sulfur, and this is a Pinta. They come in white. I've seen them in white, red, pink, purple, I think, too. Nectar plant or host plants are red or white clover. There's clover again. Nectar plants, milkweed, sunflower, aster, and Pinta. Now, I will say I have sunflowers, but I don't see them congregating around my sunflowers so much. I mean, can't say I've seen one. I really go after my lantana and Pintas. And this time of year, they seem to be the most popular. The life cycle of the clouded sulfur is May to October, and then that's more of the color. They're just the beautiful yellow butterflies. Okay, this is a common buckeye. This is taken from my garden. Again, after this slide, I have a better picture of it. It's very hard to see. It's there on the midnight salvia. Host plants in and my research source was plantain, which is a type of weed. I mean, I think of a plantain as a fruit from Florida, but in reading up on it, it is a weed. And snapdragons. The nectar plant is milkweeds and tall verbena again, and life cycle is June through October. Now, I don't have any milkweeds or tall verbena in my garden, but they sure do like this midnight salvia, so I guess that's their third choice. Okay, here's a better picture. It is a smaller butterfly, but it's beautiful and has a nice camouflage effect there. This is an eastern black swallowtail going after the lantana in my yard. And their host plants are dill, fennel, Queen Anne's lace, nectar, butterfly bush, orange butterfly weed. That's what it is. Like it's like part of the milkweed family.
They like that deal. They ate up all of mine.
And their life cycle is April to September. Then we get into another swallowtail called the tiger swallowtail. This again was taken in my yard, and I have a lot of success with this honeycomb butterfly bush. This bush is huge. It's like 6 feet tall, and it's only its second season. I kind of use mine as a windbreak to the garden, and I think I'm going to take it out and buy a new one next year, because you can buy them and they will grow relatively, like at least 3 to 4 feet tall during that season.
Well, my huge one died this summer.
They're very hardy. I mean, they'll just go buy another one. It won't take long. Okay, and their life cycle, as you can see, is March to October. Host plants are sweet bay magnolia, the tulip poplar. Nectar plants are the coneflowers, Mexican sunflowers, and petunia. And I have to apologize again, not realizing how much time this would entail. I spent, I think, more on the anatomy and the life cycle of the butterfly. I thought that was interesting. Not familiar with that Mexican sunflower.
What is it? I wanted to ask.
It's a type of sunflower. I'm sorry, I just had finished this last night, and I just didn't have any more energy. My eyes were failing on me. So if I do this again, I will do more research on showing you more of the flowers. Okay, and this was another one taken in my garden, again going after lantana. This is the Gough fritillary. And its life cycle is May to September. Host plant is the passion vine. Nectar plants, butterfly bush, coneflowers, lantana, and zinnia. And does anybody know what this is? Anybody seen these in their yards this summer?
I'm trying to figure out what it was myself.
I've seen.
Like some kind of bumblebee.
Yeah, but it's got the long wings, and it has a very long snout, like a hummingbird. I have seen these ever since I've lived here, and I have never seen so many this season. And what it is a snowberry clearwing hummingbird moth.
Is
So
it yellow?
yeah, it looks like a bumblebee.
Yeah.
It doesn't sting you. I mean, I've never been stung by one. I'm not afraid of them. They're not aggressive, and they do a lot of pollinating, and hopefully they've helped my flowers, since I have seen a shortage of bees, as I'm sure everybody else has.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting.
yeah. And that's the end of my presentation.
You give a great presentation.
Thank you. Okay. But I do have one more slide here. Just a couple websites that I found very, very helpful, informative. This North American Butterfly Association Middle Tennessee chapter. And I think if you all got your copies, you'll have the website on your copy of the presentation. Another called the Butterfly Site. And this one is www.butterfly-garden.com. So, and the other source that I used. I went to Barnes & Noble and I found this book very interesting, The Life Cycles of Butterflies. It's by Judy Burris and Wayne Richards. This is a brother and sister that both have their own separate, butterfly gardens and have done a lot of research and taken pictures and shared information and written the book on butterflies.